Who be meeting around? Jacob, how old are you?
I am currently 22.
Where do you work?
I work at the Central City Community Schools.
And what do you do there?
I'm a custodian.
Back in June of 2021, where were you working?
I was working at Casey's.
How old were you back then?
20 at the point, yeah. Wait, no. It would be 21.
What was your job title at Casey's?
It was pizza artist or register person.
You were working as a register person. What did your job responsibilities include?
Checking people out, making sure the floor was swept and mopped, do my closing stuff, and make sure the money was counted at the end of the night.
What does closing stuff include?
Stocking lids and cups, sweeping and mopping, front and facing, the cooler and the beer cave, and counting the money.
Did you ever do anything with the money in the register not at closing time as far as counting it goes?
Besides safe drops, no.
What's a safe drop?
A safe drop is when we take all the 20s that we have up to $100, we put it into the register, and it prints out a slip of paper, and then with the amount that we just safe drop, we paper clip it to the money, and then we send it down a chute into the safe.
How often would you do that in any particular shift?
Depending on if it's busy or not, in a day we roughly do around 5. I've had days where I've done 15 of them. It varies.
And when you're working as a registered person, are you aware of any alarm that you can trigger to call police?
Yes, there's a clip in the register to where we pull the bills and it gets triggered and the cops are alerted, and well, the corporate's alerted, and if no one then they call the store, and if no one picks up the phone, then the cops are alerted, someone's sent down.
How long have you worked at Casey's before June 20th of 2021?
Before June 20th, I'd say I took a year off to go to Wisconsin after I graduated because I worked there in high school as well. So if we don't count the year, it'd be roughly 2.5 or 3 years total, if that makes sense.
And did you continue to work at Casey's after June 20th of 2021?
Yes.
So then, on June 20th, 2021, were you working?
Yes.
What shift were you working?
I was originally working kitchen, but then Maddie asked if I wanted to switch, and I was more than comfortable switching with her, so I moved up to register.
Okay. What time of day?
Roughly 4 o'clock.
AM or PM?
PM.
And what time would your shift have ended?
My shift would have ended at 11 o'clock at night.
Does the store close then, or would someone else come in to take over for you?
The store would close at 11.
You said, I think you said Maddie wanted to switch?
Yes.
Who's Maddie?
Maddie, it was my coworker that night. She's a kind person. She's great.
Okay. And so she wanted to switch what?
She wanted to switch shifts that night because she read the note and she didn't really feel comfortable closing the register, and so she asked if I could work register and she could work the pizza shift that night. And
so yeah. You were scheduled to be a pizza artist?
Yep, that night, and then when she asked to switch, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said that she didn't feel comfortable because of a note. What note?
So a man came by.
At this point, I object on hearsay grounds. Counsel, could I have the approach? The objection is overruled, but I think for purposes of clarity, I'm going to have you ask a question so the witness knows where we are here.
We were talking about a note. Where was this note?
It was in the office right in front of the computer.
Who wrote the note?
Tiffany Hollow.
Who's Tiffany?
She's another one of my coworkers, the coworker that opened the store at 4 a.m. that morning.
And did you read the note?
I did as soon as I got there.
And this is the note that you said Maddie also read?
Yes.
And the reason that she wanted to switch with you?
Yes.
What did the note say?
I'm going to overrule the objection, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose for you hearing what the note says is to explain the witness and Maddie's conduct, not for any other purpose. So consider it only for that purpose at this point. Go ahead.
What did the note say?
The note stated that there was a man who tried coming in that morning, but she said that she kept telling him that it was closed, so he left, and that it said the color of the van that he was driving, and that's about it. That's about all I remember.
Okay. And then did you switch with Maddie?
Yes.
Okay. At any point in time during your shift that night, did you injure yourself?
I did. I think it was like 10 minutes before the incident went down because I was bringing up a knife that we were going to ship back to the store. It was dull. So I brought it up, and I think I actually cut myself on it, and I didn't really have.
Where did you cut yourself?
On a finger.
And was it enough to bleed?
It was. But I bandaged it before. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the incident. I want to kind of turn your attention to around 10 p.m. On June 20th, 2021. What were you doing?
I was currently at the time stocking cups and lids and getting the coffee pots cleaned.
And you said that's part of your closing responsibilities?
Yes.
What happened as you were stocking the cups and the lids?
A man walked in, the door rang, there's a bell above the door that rang, so I knew someone had walked in. I said, "Good morning," because that's just something I say to all my customers that come in at night. Dude, I don't know if they're just waking up and heading to work or not. I just figured it's polite. And he walked to the bathroom.
Okay. You said the door rang. Did it ring because of him?
It rings every time a customer walks through it.
Okay. Did you see what the man was wearing?
When I was stocking cups and lids, there's a wall above, there's a wall in front of me that I can only see over, so I only saw the hood at that point.
Okay. And the hood, what color was it?
It was black.
And was it up over the man's head or down on his back?
Over his head.
Could you see his face?
Not at the moment, no.
Did the man respond when you greeted him?
No.
What did he do?
He just walked straight to the bathroom.
What did you do?
The first thing I did was I got an eerie feeling that something might happen, because I already had an eerie feeling from after reading that note, and I just, so the first thing I did was I went back to Matt. He said, "I think something's gonna happen. Stay down. I'll let you know when it's safe."
And what did you do next?
I went up front into the office, looked at the note, looked at the camera to make sure it was the same van, and it was same colored, bronze, and that's when I realized it was gonna happen. And
after you check the cameras, where do you go?
I go over to my computer, to my register 1, and then I start doing more safe drops, as in like 2 or 3 of them, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, you said that you talked to Maddie. Are there any other employees in the store?
No.
What did you do after you did the safe drop?
I stood up at the register and just waited.
What happened?
He came up with a carton of chocolate milk, just a small little carton.
When you say he, who do you mean?
I mean the perpetrator.
Okay. Is that the same person that you saw walk in with the black hood up?
Yes.
Okay. So when he brings the chocolate milk up to the counter, can you see more of what he's wearing?
Yes.
What was he wearing?
He was wearing sweatpants, black sweatpants, and and a black hoodie.
Do you recall his shoes?
I could not see the shoes at that point.
Okay. So he brings chocolate milk up to the counter. What do you do?
I ask him, is there anything else I can get for you? And he says, give me a minute. Then he walks over to the beer cave, and then he just stands there for a few seconds, not while I'm still at the register.
When you're at the register and he goes over to the beer cave, can you still see him?
Not at this point.
Okay, so he's just over by the beer cave and you're just up by the register.
Yep.
Waiting?
Waiting.
When can you see him next?
When he comes back up with nothing else.
What did he do?
He paid for the chocolate milk. He handed me $3. I gave him back $1 because it's only like $1.39 at that point, if I believe so. I ring it up like regularly and I give him his change. And that's when he pulled out the gun.
Did you see where he pulled the gun from?
No.
What did the gun look like?
It was a pistol, black, small, with a barrel, and a trigger.
Did he say anything?
He said, give me the money.
What did you do?
I opened up the register. The first thing I did was pull the clip with that alerted corporate, and then called the cops, and then I just handed them each bill one by one, and I just set him down on the counter and let him reach across. And
you said you handed them or set them down on the counter one by one?
yes.
Do you mean stacks like 20s and then 5s and then 10s, or do you mean individual bills?
If I remember correctly, it started out with individual bills until he told me stop counting it and just hand it here.
Were you counting it?
I think so. I don't really remember, but I think I was.
Do you remember a dollar amount that you counted to?
No.
Okay. After he tells you to stop counting it, what did you do?
I just started handing them out section by section.
So you handed cash. I assume there's also change in the register?
Yes.
Did you give them any change?
I set that down on the counter as well after the cash.
Did you pull all of the money out of the register, just some of it?
I pulled it all out, but section by section.
What did you do after you emptied your register?
He said the next register. So I went, oh, go ahead.
How many registers are there?
There's 2 registers total.
Okay. So he says the next register, what do you do?
I go over to the next register and open it up, and then I start handing him the change out of there. There's no bills in there in the second register to the help left that already that day, and
Is there usually cash in the register?
not after the help leaves.
Okay.
They close that register down completely.
Now you mentioned in the first register you pulled the clip. Is there a clip in the second register?
Yes,
Were you able to pull that?
I did as well.
Okay. And then you said you handed him change. What did you do after you handed him change from the second register?
He asked about the safe.
And how did you respond?
I said, I'm sorry, I don't have access to the safe. There's nothing I can do.
How did you take it?
He said, give me the money in the safe again. And for that, I responded with, I'm sorry, only manager can get in the safe. There's nothing I can do.
Did he accept that, or did he ask again? What did he do?
He accepted that.
What did he do next?
He sent me back to the kitchen. He said something about a register, but my mind processed it as go get the person, because I know there's no register back there. So I went back to the kitchen, and I told Maddie, okay, it's going down. Call the cops, so that way there's a third alarm. Do you trust me? To which she responded yes, and then I told her I'm going to stall.
How did you stall?
I went back up and said, they're washing their hands, they'll be right up. And then he took me behind the register, and I just kind of helped him out as much as I could. And
what did he do behind the register?
He grabbed a bunch of cigarette cartons, Maddie's purse, and he asked about the safe again.
When he asked about the safe, what did you do?
I told him again that I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. There's only a manager can get it in. I apologize.
said he took Maddie's purse. Did he take any belongings from you?
He did ask me for my wallet at some point. I don't remember the exact moment that he did, but he did.
Okay, what did you do when he asked for your wallet?
I gave him everything out of my wallet, and then I asked him for if I believe it was my COVID card, my Blue Cross card, and my license back. To which he shrugged and he said, and gave me that look, from what I perceived was the look of, did he really just ask that? So I slowly reached my arms across and I just pulled back those 3 items and just put them in my pocket.
You slowly reached across what?
The COVID card.
The COVID card. Tell me about the COVID card. Where is that?
It's in front of each register, like to block off code protect us from the customers in case they did have anything. It has a little opening in the bottom of it. That's where he pointed the gun.
Okay. So when he asked for your wallet, you were still at the counter?
Yes.
What side of the counter were you on when he asked?
I was on the employee side. He was on the customer side.
Okay. And then you mentioned, I think you said what items did you take back?
I believe it was the COVID card, the Blue Cross card, and the ID.
Okay. So COVID card, like your proof of vaccination?
Yes.
The Blue Cross, what is that?
My insurance card.
And your license?
Yes.
Okay. So I think at this point you talked that he is behind the counter taking cartons of cigarettes. Mm-hmm. What do?
I go back to the safe. I see there's a small roll of quarters that our manager puts like in a section on top of the safe, on top of the safe that is visible. It's just a section of quarters, one thing of quarters, so like $10. And so I figured he's gonna see that. I might as well just hand it to him. So I did. So I handed him that.
What did he do?
He took it and just continued to grab stuff.
After he grabbed things from behind the counter, what did he do?
He said go back to the kitchen again. And so which I went back to the kitchen and told Maddie that he's coming, put your phone down, and the cop. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
When you went back to the kitchen and was on her phone?
She was talking to a police officer.
Okay, so like a phone call.
Yes. A phone call.
And you told her to get off her phone. Does she do that?
The cop is telling her stay on the phone, but I just told her put your phone down. He's coming. So she does put her phone down on the table back there. Before it all started, she was doing dishes at the time when I went back and warned her about it. But she did put her phone down, and then he walked up behind us, and from what I perceived, he gave us that look like, what am I gonna do? She was just on her phone, so he did see her on her phone.
Okay. And what did he do?
He said go to the cooler.
What did you do when he said go to the cooler?
Maddie and I put our hands up and we went to the cooler.
Did he come into the cooler?
No, but he did stand at the door and ask us about our phones. He said no phones. To which Maddie replied, I don't have my phone on me, it's out there. And I told him I did not have my phone on me at the time. I told him I don't have it on me, but I did have it on me at the time. It was in my pocket.
After you told him, or after he told you no phones, what did he do?
He just left. He went out.
When he left, was the door to the cooler open or closed?
It's shut after he left.
Okay. What did you do in the cooler?
Maddie and I just sat down and she just kept telling me, what if we don't make it? What if he's the one who comes back? Yeah, what if I don't go to college? Don't make it to college?
How would you describe her emotional state while you were in the cooler?
Freaking out. Just repeated asking the same questions, to which all I could respond with was, it'll be okay, we're gonna be fine, the cop is gonna be the one who enters, you're gonna make it to college, there's nothing to worry about, I'm here for you.
When you were in the cooler, could you hear anything that was going on in the store?
We didn't hear anything, the cooler is pretty soundproof, but when the gunshots went off, we heard those.
How long would you estimate you were in the cooler before you heard gunshots?
Roughly 5 minutes, but it felt like 10.
What did you do after you heard the gunshots?
Maddie started crying and hugging, and she just, the instant the gunshots went off, she hugged me.
You described Maddie as crying. Were you crying?
I was not. I was not at this point.
Could you hear anything after the gunshots?
Not for another like 5 minutes when we heard an officer come by and say, if there's someone in there, make some noise, we're coming in.
And what happened once you heard an officer?
Yes, we heard an officer.
What happened after you heard it?
As soon as he did it to the freezer, and then we waited for him to get to the cooler, to which then he said it again, and we just started yelling, we're in here, hi, we're here, and he opened the door, and then he looked at us for a few seconds, then he said, wait here, we'll be back.
You said that the officer did it to the freezer first?
Yes.
Where's the freezer compared to the cooler?
About 4 steps away from the cooler.
You said that the officer left you there.
Yes,
Did he come back eventually?
he did.
What did you do when he came back?
He told us to just follow him. He's gonna have us wait out in the hall for a second, in the kitchen for a little bit, and then he'll come get us for our testimonies to write them down and stuff.
And did you write down a statement?
We did.
You say we, who's we?
Maddie and I.
When the officer let you out of the cooler, was the man wearing the black hoodie still there at the store?
No.
After the man wearing the black hoodie left you in the cooler, did you see him again that night?
I did not that night.
The next day, where did you go?
I spent the night over at my brother's house, James Christensen, in Cedar Rapids at the time, and where he lived, because I felt safer being farther away and not staying in my house that night, which was just down the road from Casey's. And so yeah, I just spent the night there, and then once I woke up, that's when it hit me that I actually could have died that night, and that's when the tears started rolling in, and I started freaking out. And that's when I called my mother, and I asked her, because she was over at the Hoag's Auctioneering, which is where the manhunt was going down, and I knew that ahead of time because she sent up a text saying that they were all there.
I checked out hearsay grounds regarding what Mr. Christensen's mother told him. Sustained.
Okay, so you mentioned Hoag's, and your mom was there. Why was she at Hoag's?
She works there.
Calls for hearsay.
Overruled, but just answer the question you've been asked.
She works there.
Okay, and without saying what the content of the text message she sent you said, she did text you?
Yes, she texted my brother, and then he told me.
Okay. Did you go to Hoag's that day?
I did, the next morning around 8 a.m. roughly.
Okay, and who was there when you got there?
A bunch of police officers, canines, and my mom, her boss. They were just doing their job like regularly. And
Why did you go there?
I went there because I honestly thought I'd feel safer there, knowing that I was around my mother and there was going to be hundreds of cops there.
Your Honor, I'm just an action strategical question for.
Sure.
Did anyone show you a picture?
Yes.
Who showed you a picture?
I don't know the officer name, but it was one of the officers.
Okay. And what was the picture of?
It was of Stanley.
Now, at the time that you saw it, did you know the name Stanley?
I did not.
Okay. So at the time you saw it, what did you see?
I just saw a picture of Stanley. It was the same guy that was there that night without the hood on.
Okay, so you saw a picture of the man from Casey's without the hood on.
Yes.
When you were shown the picture, did the officer tell you anything?
No. He just asked if is this the guy? Does this look like the guy who was there that night? To which I replied with, it's him. I had a gut feeling.
And what you had a what?
A gut feeling.
Okay. And did the officer respond when you said that?
No. He just walked back to his area and discussed something with the other officers.
At the time you saw the picture, do you know whether or not Mr. Donahue had been arrested?
At the time, no, I had not.
Okay. When you saw the picture, was it a single photo or was there multiple photos?
A single photo.
How could you tell it was the same person?
Because when he had the gun pointed at me, I didn't want to focus my attention on the gun, so I looked at his face, trying to like memorize certain features. So I looked at his nose, I looked at his lips, and.
Could you see his eyes?
I saw his eyes, but I don't remember the color.
Okay. You said the hood, he had the hood up. Did that in any way interfere with your ability to see his nose?
No.
Did it interfere with your ability to see his mouth?
No.
Did it interfere with your ability to see his eyes?
Not a little bit, but no.
How did it interfere a little bit?
So when the hood was up, it kind of darkened everything a little, if that makes sense.
Like shadows?
Yeah, shadows.
Do you know whether or not there is like security video at Casey's?
There it is.
Have you seen the security video from Casey's from this incident?
Yes.
Does it fairly and accurately depict the robbery as you experienced it?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state will move to admit State's Exhibit 3.
Mr. Stiefel? No objection, Your Honor.
Counsel, would this be a good time to take our recess?
Sure.
Sees surveillance video. Does it also show you making the safe drop that you described?
Yes.
Does it fairly and accurately depict your safe drop?
Yes.
Kind of backing up, you said you work at Casey's. Where is this Casey's located?
It's located in Coggon, Iowa.
And we talked about how you gave the contents of your wallet to the defendant, or to the man. What was in your wallet that you gave to him?
A few gift cards, like a Subway Rewards card, a movie theater card, rewards card, and a phone number on a carton slip that I do not know who that phone number belongs to. It's just some random phone number I had in my wallet.
Okay. Were there any bank cards in your wallet?
I believe so at that point.
Okay. What banks, or what bank or banks plural were you a member of?
At the time, I believe it would have been the bank on the main street of Coggon and Onward Bank and Trust in Central City, one of those two.
Okay. You talked about you had gone to Wisconsin for a year. Did you have a bank there?
I did.
Okay. Do you recall that bank?
That bank would be Farmers Savings Bank. I just have a CD with them, so I don't really have a card for them.
Okay. You said that you worked at Casey's while you were in school before you graduated?
Yes.
I assumed you were talking about high school, is that right?
Yes.
As at school, did you have any type of identification?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase the question?
Did you have like a school ID
No.
when you were in high school?
No. Not one that I carried around with me.
Okay. But did you have one?
I did.
Okay. And would it have had your picture on it or just your name?
My picture, the name of the school, and my name on it.
Okay. Did you belong to a library?
Yes.
Did you have a card for the library?
I had a library card. It was for the library in Coggon.
Okay. Where did you keep it?
I kept it in my wallet. And yeah.
Was there any money in your wallet?
I think they're like $12 to $15
In cash?
in cash. Yeah.
Did you keep any change in your wallet?
Not that I remember.
Why did you give the man money from the register?
Because he asked me, he said, give me the money from the register. And at that point, with the gun pointed at me, I just wanted to comply. And
Why did you go into the cooler?
because I assume he wanted us just to be out of the way, after realizing that something was going on. And
Did you feel like you had a choice when you went to the cooler?
no.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit State's Exhibits 3 and 4, which are videos from Casey's.
Mr. Stiefel,
No objection, Your Honor.
exhibits 3 and 4 are admitted.
The state would ask permission to publish them.
You may do so.
Will you turn the screens on for me, Your Honor, please?
And Ms. Edwards, if you wait just a few seconds, I think the projector's coming on.
Your Honor, could we tilt this TV behind the prosecutors just a little bit this way?
You certainly may. Thanks, Ben. Go ahead, Ms. Edwards.
For purposes of the record, this is State's Exhibit 4, and it has no sound. What were you doing in State's Exhibit 4?
I was doing safe drops.
I'm now going to play part of State's Exhibit 3, starting from the beginning, and I'm playing it on mute. I stopped the video at 26:15. I'm showing a still frame at 14:27. Jacob, can you see the safe in this still frame?
Yes.
Can you describe where it is?
It's right in the center, right in front of me, with the bags hanging from it.
Is it above or below the counter?
Below.
Then there is a binder to your left. A physical binder on the table there. Could you open it up? There should be a tab with your name on it. And will you look at States Exhibits 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Do you recognize anything in those pictures?
Yes. I recognize the Subway Rewards card, the Marcus Theater card that says Merry Christmas on it. And then 6 is the back of those 2 cards. Well, 7 is the cigarette carton slip that I tore off and wrote the phone number on that I do not remember who the phone number belongs to. In 8, you can see the library card that belonged to me. 9 is the back of that card, and 10 has my school card and my community savings bank card on it. And then 11 is my farmer's savings bank. Oh, I did have it on me.
All of the items that you just described, do they belong to you?
Yes.
Would they have been in your wallet when you gave the contents to the man?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit States Exhibits 5 through and including 11.
Mr. Stiefel, do you have objections?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Foundational regarding who took the pictures, relevancy regarding where and when the property was found.
Objection is overruled. Exhibits 5 through 11 are admitted.
And the state would ask permission to publish.
You may do so.
I'm showing you States Exhibit 5. Can you describe for the jury the items in this picture that belong to you?
The Subway Rewards card and the Merry Christmas Marcus Theater card.
In States Exhibit 6, are there any items that belong to you?
Those are the back of the 2 cards, so yes.
States Exhibit 7, does any item belong to you?
The cigarette carton slip with the phone number on it.
Whose handwriting is the phone number written in?
That would have been mine at the time.
If I go back to States Exhibit 5, do you see the cigarette carton?
Yes.
In States Exhibit 8, what do you see?
That's my Coggon Public Library card that I use to check out books.
And in States Exhibit 9?
That would be the back of the card.
In States Exhibit 10?
That would be my school card. It's for Central City Community Schools. I honestly don't know why I still had that on me. And my community savings account card.
And in States Exhibit 11, what do you see?
My farmer's savings bank card.
Were all of those items taken from you by the man in the store?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't need the screen anymore. Could you turn it off, please? Thank you. Jacob, do you see the man from the store in the courtroom today?
Your
Yes.
Honor, I object to that question on the same grounds raised in the motion in limine on this issue.
Objections overruled.
Do you see the man from the store in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you point to him and identify an article of clothing he's wearing?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
He's wearing, I think, a red tie with a white dress shirt.
There appear to me to be two men in the area that you pointed wearing a white shirt with a red tie. One is wearing a jacket, one is not. Which man are you referring to?
The one without a jacket.
Okay. Your Honor, let the record reflect the witness has made an in-court identification of the defendant.
The record may so reflect.
The man that you've identified for us in the courtroom today, is he the same person who pointed a gun at you?
Yes.
Is he the same person who took the contents of your wallet?
Yes.
Is he the same person who forced you into the cooler?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Stiefel, I presume you have cross-exam, so you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Mr. Christensen, I will refer to the person in the KCs who pointed the gun at you and put you in the freezer and did all the other things as the perpetrator. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The perpetrator was wearing a hood over his head during all of his interactions with you, is that right?
Yes.
And in your own words regarding your ability to see the perpetrator's facial features, the hood kind of darkened everything up and blocked most of them out, is that right?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
And when
Yes.
you initially described the perpetrator's face to the deputy sheriff who got you out of the cooler, all you could say was that the perpetrator had big lips, is that right?
A bigger than usual nose and bigger than usual sized lips, yes.
And you later described the appearance of the lips as bigger than regular sized people would have lips, is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
And the perpetrator had a firearm, a gun, displayed during some of his interactions with you, is that right?
Yes.
But you never saw the perpetrator display the gun in Madeline Stepanik's presence, did you?
No.
And the date of this incident at the Casey's was June 20th of 2021, is that right?
Yes.
Your presence around black individuals at that time was limited to one customer at the Casey's that you would see on a regular basis, is that right?
On a regular basis, yes.
And regarding where you went to school, was that in the Central City school system?
Yes.
Did you go there through kindergarten up to your senior year?
I believe it was around middle school, at the beginning of middle school to senior year.
And so starting with middle school through your senior year, you only had 2 classmates who were black, is that right?
From middle school, I had 3 starting and then 1 left.
So by the time, or stating the question differently, through all that time in school, the most classmates you had that were black would have been 3, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was the year you graduated from high school?
2019.
And once you graduated from high school, you moved to Wisconsin for a period of time, is that right?
Yes.
About how long did you live in Wisconsin?
A year.
And during that approximately 1 year in Wisconsin, you would not see black individuals, would you?
They came in periodically to the store that I transferred to, and then the store that I left that Casey's to work at, yeah.
So when you were in Wisconsin, with any regularity, would you see black individuals?
About once or twice a day.
And when you moved back from the Wisconsin area, you resumed working at the Casey's in Coggon, is that right?
Yes, I transferred to Casey's in Wisconsin.
When you came back
Oh,
from
when I came back.
Wisconsin?
Sorry. Yes.
And about what was the month and year when you resumed working at the Casey's in Coggon?
It was in July of 2020.
And then between July of 2020 and the date of the incident with the perpetrator, you would only see the one black customer on a regular basis, is that right?
On a regular basis, yes.
In any of your life, have you ever socialized with any black people?
Yes.
Who would those be?
I had a friend in high school. His name was Alex Hoffner. Great man. And yeah.
Other than your friend, Mr. Hoffner, would you socialize with any black individuals?
Every once in a while, I do a group project with Dietrich Schellhorn, but for high school. But that's about it.
And on June 20th of 2021, you were wearing glasses. Is that right?
Yes.
And up to that time in your life, you had worn glasses for as long as you could remember. Is that right?
Not from kindergarten on, yes, but at some point I got told I didn't need them anymore, and that I mainly needed them for reading, if that makes reading small letters.
And the glasses that you were wearing on June 20th of 2021 had a prescription. Is that right?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
And the last time that prescription would have been renewed was sometime during your high school years. Is that right?
Yes.
Regarding the picture that you saw at Hoag's Auctioneering, that occurred on June 21st of 2021, is that right?
Yes.
And you don't remember the name of the officer who showed you that picture, do you?
No.
Do you remember what the officer was wearing that day?
He was in full uniform, vest and everything.
What did the uniform look like?
It looked, he had a walkie-talkie on his chest, a gun in his holster, a navy blue uniform, wearing a black bulletproof vest.
Do you know what the officer's name was?
No.
Did the officer ever identify him or herself?
They did.
Do you recall what name the person gave?
No, I do not remember.
And what did that person look like?
They were a bit skinnier than the officer that recognized me from the night before.
Was it a male or female?
Male.
What color was his skin?
White.
What color was his hair?
I think brown. Brown. Yeah.
And when the officer, whoever it was, came up to you with the picture, isn't it true that he said to you, "Is this who you believe robbed the Caseys because this is the man we found, we caught"?
Yes.
And isn't it true that after you responded yes to that officer's question, he told you, "This is the guy we have, we just want to make sure he was the right guy"?
Yes.
And other than that one time when that unknown officer showed you a picture of Mr. Donahue, has anyone else asked you to try and identify the perpetrator prior to the prosecutor doing that this morning?
No.
And when the prosecutor asked you this morning whether Mr. Donahue was the person you saw in the Caseys, was it clear to you that Mr. Donahue is the person the prosecutors are putting on trial?
Yes.
And was it clear to you that Mr. Donahue was sitting with his attorneys?
Yes.
And was it clear to you that the group of people sitting in front of you and to your left was the jury in this case?
Yes.
And other than members of the jury and a cameraman, were there any other black individuals in the courtroom when you identified Mr. Donahue as the person in the Caseys?
Like today?
Yes.
Yes, the cameraman.
Other than the cameraman, was there anyone else who was black in the courtroom at the time you made the identification?
No, none.
And when you made that identification, you did not have any other people to compare Mr. Donahue to with similar physical characteristics, did you?
The officers did not have me do a lineup, no.
Regarding the identification that you made this morning, at the time you made that identification, you did not have anyone other than Mr. Donahue to consider, did you?
No.
And since you were the victim of the incident at the Caseys, you have somewhat followed the news coverage of the events and the investigation and all of that. Is that true?
Just what I've heard from my coworkers and from talking about it, and yeah.
And before today, you have looked at news articles, whether on Facebook or other locations about the case. Is that right?
Yes.
And in those articles and posts and anything else you may have seen about the case, you have seen Mr. Donahue's picture. Is that right?
Yes.
And when you've seen his picture, it's been associated with stories that identify him as the alleged perpetrator. Is that right?
Yes.
And giving your best estimate, about how many times have you seen Mr. Donahue's picture in that context?
As a day of 7 to 10.
The perpetrator was not wearing gloves or any other sort of coverings on his hands, was he?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And within the store, the perpetrator was touching a lot of different things. Is that right?
Yes.
To the best of your memory, what sorts of things in the store do you remember the perpetrator touching?
Cigarette cartons, the contents in my wallet, the contents in the register, some tobacco products, Maddie's purse.
Would all of those things you just described be in the cash register area where the perpetrator first pointed the gun at you?
Yes.
How about in the kitchen or the cooler area where the perpetrator put you? What, if anything, was he touching in those areas?
I don't believe he was touching anything in those areas.
Do you recall him touching the handle on the freezer door at all?
Yes, he did touch that.
And when did that happen?
When he came back and opened it up while Maddie and I were in the cooler and told us no phones. That's when he followed us back there.
And while the perpetrator was in the store, before he pointed the gun at you for the first time, he was walking in the hallway near the bathrooms. Is that right?
Yes.
And he was also walking in the area near the bathrooms where some of the beverage coolers are. Is that right?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Where else was he walking other than the bathroom hallway?
When he went to get the chocolate milk, he walked over by the coolers, but this was after I was back up at the register. And
So when you were at the register, but before the perpetrator pointed the gun at you for the first time, where in the store do you recall the perpetrator walking other than the bathroom hallway we already discussed?
the cooler area where the milk is located, and then over by the beer cave.
Would you please describe where the cooler with the milk area would be as it relates to the bathroom hallway?
I believe at the time it was about three doors down. When you leave the bathroom, come back out towards the register, you take, I think it's a right. It's about three cooler doors down that way.
And would it be accurate to say that the coolers and the bathroom hallway are all kind of in the back left section of the store if you're standing in the front door and looking inwards?
When you first walk in the store, you're facing the beer cave, yes.
And then the bathroom hallway and the milk coolers would be off to your left side in the store. Is that accurate to say?
So beer cage would be straightforward, and then the milk cooler would be to, I think this is left or right. Yeah, left.
And after you cut your hand, you do not remember spending any time in the bathroom hallway, do you?
I do not.
And after you cut your hand, you do not remember spending any time near the coolers that contained the milk, do you?
No.
And prior to the perpetrator entering the store for the first time, You had not received any complaints from customers about blood being on the floor of the Casey's, did you?
No.
At the time the perpetrator asked for money from the register, you don't know how much money was in the register, do you?
I do not.
Prior to the prosecutor asking you to identify Mr. Donahue this morning as a person you saw in the Casey's, I may have asked this already, but had anyone else asked you to make any identification attempts between today and June 21st of 2021?
No.
And to prepare for your testimony today, did you ever meet with anyone from the prosecutor's office?
I met, before today, I met with the attorneys and prosecutor's office, and they prepared me for what was going to happen and showed me the courtroom where I was going to sit. And
Your Honor, no further questions for Mr. Christensen at this time.
Ms. Edwards, do you have a redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Do you have any trouble seeing without your glasses?
no,
I see that you're not wearing them today, so no troubles?
no,
When you wear your glasses, does the potentially outdated prescription affect your ability to see in any way?
no,
You were asked by Mr. Stiefel if the man's hood darkened everything. Could you see his eyes?
I could see his eyes. It didn't darken everything. It darkened like 1/4 of his face, maybe 2/4.
So you could see his eyes. Were they a bit shadowed as you described?
Yes,
Was his nose shadowed?
no,
Was his mouth shadowed?
no.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Stiefel?
Mr. Christensen, when the officer showed you what he claimed was a picture of Stanley Donahue at Hoag's Auctioneering on June 21st of 2021, did the officer say how recent that picture had been taken?
Objection outside the scope of redirect.
Sustained.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any further cross?
No, Your Honor.
Sir, you may step down. Ms. Edwards, may I excuse this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stiefel, may I excuse the witness?
For now, Your Honor.
You're excused for now, sir. Counsel, can I have you briefly approach?
and gentlemen, because we're at an
Breaking point, I'm going to take our lunchtime recess now. I think it's